Welcome back, nerds, to Wonderland, the podcast F Wonderland, brought to you by Tim Heller, Kelley Hennigan, and Jake Norris. Though Jake may be changing the hyphenate to his last name later this season. We will get into that. I don't know. It's just a feeling that I have. There might be an incident. This week was kind of an interesting week for all of us. I was gone away on a work conference down in Hotlanta, and Jake and Kelley were here. We weren't able to watch the race together, but we did watch the sprint race. Beautiful weekend in Beijing, China. We had a sprint race. We had a race, lots of drama, and what some people thought was a boring race. I have not even watched the whole race and only been able to watch about 5, 10, or 2 to 3 8-minute different recaps of it. And I don't think it was that boring, but I also didn't have to watch all 56 laps, 58 laps, 50-something laps of this race. 56. Yeah. Thank you. So today we're going to go through a little bit of a race recap analysis. We're going to talk about box banters, standout moments. Of course, we have our favorite hydration station. And then we'll close it out and say goodbye until next week. So to kick things off, let's go into a little race recap and analysis. Oh my God. Ferrari drama and excitement, more drama than excitement. It was another sad boy weekend for me personally with Ferrari.
I was going to ask at the beginning how you're doing, but I didn't want to.
Man, I was on top of the world. I was up at 11 p.m. Eastern time to watch the race in Atlanta. I'd love to. We'll talk about getting my friend Hunter involved in the podcast at some point here, and we'll share a clip of what he did. But good friend Hunter Peterson, shout out to you for organizing a group of us to watch the sprint race in his room. And man, I was so excited. He even got my wife Jess involved and super stoked. She texted me and said, "Oh my God, is this real? He's starting pole." I'm like, "Oh my God, is this real? You know what pole means? Let's get." Was able to celebrate as a family, all three of us and Jess. But yeah, I mean, I feel like Ferrari kind of was just dangling the carrot for the Tifosi and everyone by giving Lewis the permission to have that kind of car for just the sprint race. Right off the block, super fast, super zippy, responsive. It looked like old school Lewis. How did you guys feel?
Yeah, I mean,
he's speechless, folks. He was speechless at the performance of the
day. We all know you have thoughts.
I don't actually. This is the one time I don't really have a lot to say because, like I said in the first, second, third episode, I can't remember at this point, I joined F1 fandom later on, so I didn't experience the Lewis Hamilton days of yore. I can just vicariously live through all of what I see, and I love it. I obviously love him. I'm a huge fan of him. I think he's not only an amazing athlete, but an incredible human being. So seeing him win was amazing, but I haven't experienced the true lore of Sir Hamilton. So as exciting as it was for me to watch, and I think that he deserves that pole position for sprint race and the win. It was just I'm really happy for him kind of thing, but not in a bad way,
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. Good for him. Yeah.
I mean, Tim, the carrot dangling is so real. It's like you get a taste of what winning could feel like in a red car, and you're like, oh my gosh, the whole season is about to open up. And then what is crazy with the schedule, you do the sprint race and then you do qualifying again. It's the same day, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about that. We talked about how a regular race week works. A sprint race weekend is a little bit different. It's the same amount of sessions, I think. Friday, there's FP1, so that's the first practice. And then there is sprint qualifying. So you only get one practice session, and then you qualify for the sprint race. The sprint race is exactly the way it sounds. It's a shortened race. Normally, it's a no-stop race. I think it's 19, 20-ish laps. And normally you don't stop unless you have a problem.
Or unless you're Williams. for no reason.
Exactly. So you have FP1 and then the sprint qualifying, which sets the grid for the sprint race. And then you have the sprint race, which is Saturday morning or early afternoon. And then a couple hours later, you go straight into qualifying for the Grand Prix on Sunday. And then you have the Grand Prix. So not only are they racing with little to no practice time on the track, they are then running a full race, I should say condensed race, but a real race that matters with points into qualifying for the bigger race. So you see a lot of potential with these cars, but you also see a little bit more reservation too, because you think about you only have 2 to 3 hours to turn that car back around into a qualifying lap. You don't want damage to that car. You don't want it in the wall. You want to, minimize any possibility of you not being the best at both events. So that's what we had this weekend. I think there's only a few, like, I want to say like four.
I think it's five or six this season. Six this season?
6 sprint races, yeah. One is Austin.
Mm-hmm. I guess I want to know what your guys' thoughts are on that. I know, Tim, you said that you didn't normally watch the sprint races. So I texted him. I was like, congratulations, Tim. You made it through your first sprint race.
Popped that cherry.
But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on that format?
Kelley, you kick us off.
I think it's fun. I think it's different. Obviously, you see such varied results. Like we had Ferrari win. Pole position, took home the sprint win, and then literally in the race, everything else happens. So I think it's an interesting format to get different results. So love that. Also, for the fandom, it is kind of fun to have a different race. So if you're close to a race, you could see a sprint race in person and go on a Saturday and maybe not get tickets for a Sunday. Or if you're choosing to do one day versus like a 3-day, which PS, it's a lot of logistics, even if you live in the place where a race is happening. But like you have a couple of opportunities to see a race, which is pretty cool. So I don't know. That's a fan point of view that has nothing to do with like a driver or, how it impacts the team. But
I like it. I support that. To me, I enjoyed it, but it felt like, and I'm going to make a reference for English Premier League fans as a like Manchester United fan. It's the equivalent of us playing in the FA Cup on a Friday and then playing in the EPL on a Saturday. It's a lot going on, and you're not really you can't bank on seeing the same results that you're going to see Friday to Saturday or Saturday to Sunday in this instance. So you're going to see some players from the bench, or you're going to see some like crazy, like one-off team chemistry happening that you're going to get 3 goals on Friday, but then you're still going to be playing to not get relegated on Saturday. So I thought it was fun. I don't appreciate the emotional roller coaster that I went on.
I was gonna say more like this weekend you get a one-off of a win that you want, and then and
then a kick in the sack for the one hell of a kick in both nuts for Ferrari fans this weekend. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I also appreciated that for the fans in the Western Hemisphere watching a race in the Eastern Hemisphere, I wasn't up for 2.5 hours. I was able to
get these old bones to bed at a reasonable hour.
So yeah, I thought it was really fun though. And to me, in my brain, if I was an engineer or a team principal, I'm like, okay, this is really a good opportunity for us to stress test this car, or go the opposite direction and be like, all right, let's try for a couple points. Like if we're a McLaren, we'll try for some, but we know that the car's mean enough to get through the full GP and get double points, or a double podium for the 50th time in a team history, as our friends at McLaren have. Yeah, I think those are my thoughts.
I really agree with like the perspective of if you're, watching it, it's nice to have another race, or like if you're in the same city, it's nice to see something if you can't go all 3 days. I would say I like it from that standpoint of being in person and getting to see 2 races in one weekend. But I think from a nerdy, like analytics side, I really enjoy watching the practices into the qualifying. I think the cars, you push the cars a little bit more. You see a little bit more action, like with Ollie Behrman, like crashing to the wall two out of the 3 sessions.
Yep. Well, and if we want to talk about opposite experiences in the race or in these races, Haas is an excellent example, as well as Ferrari.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that I like that they're sprinkled in. I'm glad that they're not a standard format, but I'm liking that they're sprinkled in throughout the calendar year.
It does seem early to have a sprint race in the second race. And maybe this year is just more drastic because we have so many rookies where they've literally had 1 practice session, or they've had technically 4, but they've been into the wall. So we haven't seen a lot of setups or just laps, but I can see that point, Jake.
And also, I think, what we've seen now is this is the second race, or I guess the third technical race, but the second weekend, and we've had 3 different drivers win 3 different races, which gives it more variety. It makes it more competitive, which is something that I think, whether you're a Red Bull fan or not, I don't know, I don't want to speak for them, that would come after me, but I think, it's nice to see other people try to win, even if they're not continuously winning.
Sure.
Because if one person wins all the time, you have
2024.
Max Verstappen.
Which I don't know if I should say this online or not, but I'm starting to stan him a little bit more.
Yeah, I like it too, and I'm proud of you for saying it. This is a safe space.
I don't
Kelley,
agree.
Hold this. Thank you, Jake. We're here for you.
Listen,
yeah, and what's really good about that point, Tim, is you still haven't watched Wicked, so
I haven't yet, but I also am a musical theater major. You guys make it seem like I don't know what happens in Wicked. I get the memes. Kelley. I get the memes with the car, the pink car and the green car. Okay.
Touching noses. We have a lot to talk about, so let's get into what we're going to talk about today. We're going to touch on Ferrari a little bit. We're going to touch on Red Bull drama. We'll go through the standings of the race, and then we will go through a new little segment, I think, that we're going to implement into this podcast, box banter, where we go through some of our favorite radio messages, and then we can go through some standout moments, of course, hydration station, like Kelley said, and then a little recap of what we'll talk about next time. So going into the actual race, we talked about the way that it was set up. We had Lewis Hamilton take pole position for Ferrari in the sprint race, and then win. We saw Lando Norris, who McLaren has been the favorite all season, have a pretty, I don't want to say rough weekend based off of the standings, but based off of his performance throughout practice and qualifying and the sprint race, he started 6th position on the grid and then ended 8th. So he lost 2 positions. And then in the Grand Prix, he ended up getting 2nd place, but had a brake issue, which he had to basically nurse that car home. So if you're looking at the weekend points wise and standing wise, he is still leading Max in the championship, even though he finished later in the grid on the sprint race. We had Oscar Piastri take home pole for the qualifying of the Grand Prix and take home the 1st place podium for the Grand Prix as well, which I was super, super happy to see as a McLaren fan. I adore Oscar. I think that he is just so funny with his wording and the way that he reacts to certain things. I think that's why it was so heartbreaking in Australia, because you actually saw a lot of emotion out of him. Whereas this guy normally, I think when he won, he was like, yeah, I don't really know what to say other than great job, guys. Yeah,
And that's
like
exactly what I wanted and
um,
expected to happen.
yeah. So great weekend for McLaren. Overall, had a few issues with the car finding pace really in the practice and qualifying, especially for Lando. And I think Oscar is now on his, you know, campaign to really say, I'm here. What are we going to do about it? So I think that's a little
Yeah.
foreshadowing of what we're going to see this season, especially with papaya rules and team orders. But I want to jump into Ferrari because I think that's going to be our biggest talking point today, alongside with Red Bull. So Ferrari, as you heard, took home first place in the sprint race, but had kind of a rough Grand Prix when it came to team orders. The radios were a little pointed at times. And then, if you haven't seen the news yet, both Ferraris were disqualified from the race, eliminating all points possible for the team, both from the driver.
Well after the race. We
Correct.
should add too.
And the reason for that was Leclerc's car was underweight. It did have a front wing. Part of the front wing was missing throughout the Grand Prix, so they swapped it out. But it came down to the fuel level in the car, and it was just under, I believe, 800 kilograms.
I don't know what the rule is.
I think it's 800.
800.
Do you know what the starting and finishing weights have to be?
I believe it's 800 is the threshold, like the limit. It can't be
Okay.
over or under that.
Okay.
Which some people listening might not know. Okay, these drivers are different sizes, they're different weights. How do they maintain that? There's different, ballasts and ways to legally make your car heavier or lighter. But yeah, so his car, along with Pierre Gasly, his car was underweight. He was disqualified from the race. Lewis Hamilton's car had, I believe it's the plank, the board under the car. I forgive me for not knowing the technical term. Was
Just like the skid.
Yeah, the
something?
rear
Skid
skid.
plate?
marker.
So when you see the car going, but for real, when you see the sparks
many
on the
skid marks.
grid,
What does that say?
it's where this, it's what is separating the floor of the car and the ground, really. And it was 0.5 millimeters, I believe, something like that, or 0.05
Yeah, I
millimeters.
saw like a meme where it was like someone was holding up a credit card and it was like,
Exactly.
this was the margin of disqualification for
And
Lewis's
it's the
car.
same margin of error that if like the micro DNS or not DNS. I've been having internet issues with my website. Can you tell? The DRS, the mini DRS that happens with the downforce on the rear wing, for Lando and Oscar's car in Australia, had that gap the size of a quarter, the thickness of a quarter, and now the legal amount is the thickness of a credit card. So that is the margins they're dealing with. And the margins that Ferrari is just, I feel
Just
like there's
missing
always,
by.
that much for everybody else is like this much for Ferrari the past several seasons.
Yeah,
and it's brutal because they were double points and they would have really bet like it really would have brought that gap to McLaren a lot closer.
Did you see that meme? I'll have Jules put it on the screen. It's the logo of Ferrari and it's the horse, the prancing horse. And the bottom half is Saturday and the top half is Sunday, and it's like a drawn on figure. And it's so heartbreaking but funny because I mean, I don't know if it's funny at all for any Ferrari diehards. It was a rough weekend, but yeah, it's hard because this, as we were talking about, was this big campaign for Lewis Hamilton, and they're not clicking.
It's not yet. I don't want to rule it out. Jess, my Jess had called me and asked like, "Hey, does this mean that like this was not the sole purpose for the call? I wish. We'll see one day. Does this mean that Lewis is out of the running? Does this mean that his season is over?" And I said, "No, but it does not bode well. The foreshadowing is not great if we're looking at another season like last year and especially 2023 with the cars just spontaneously combusting, spontaneous." But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that they need to take a look at. It seems like it's all detail work that is getting brushed over here for Fred and the gang.
We'll
Red
see.
Bull, and can we also talk about V-carb?
Yeah. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I think so. Red Bull, like you said, lots of drama. I loved the quote from Max at the beginning of the race that no, we're not going to win. This isn't enough. The car doesn't have the pace, and he landed exactly where he said he would land. Wild to me.
He also said,
Yuki-
in order for me to win, everyone would need to DNF.
To DNF.
I was like, okay, Max. Well, maybe.
Yeah, and it was true. But then Yuki and his front right wing just coming off because of dirty air. Did you guys see that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
It was towards the end.
Yeah, it was right towards the end of the race.
Oh,
He
yes,
was-
yes. It just
and then
went.
it just went. You see it, and it looks like as if somebody hit it, and it just went. Gone.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I have always kind of liked V-carb. I think my disdain for Red Bull really stems from a singular person that we've already talked about. And his name is not Max Verstappen. I think Max also is coming into this season differently than last season because he was coming off of a world championship win with 2 major Grand Prix wins, and everyone thought it was going to be a repeat. And then shit kind of started hitting the fan. And I think shit has been hitting the fan, and he, although does not like it and wants it to change, he is doing the best that he possibly can. And I do think that him driving that car, and this is probably why I have more respect for him this year than I did last year, it makes you realize how hard that car is or how bad that car is right now. And I watched an interview with Pierre Gasly, him saying when he drove for Red Bull, that second seat, what you don't realize is it's like a mouse cursor on your computer. You can adjust the sensitivity. Max loves to get that sensitivity all the way up. So when you're that second seat, you start adapting to that. But if you're so used to it not being that sensitive, it's like you move a hair and the computer cursor goes to the other screen. And then you say, okay, well, I have to just be fearless like Max is, and that's why he's so successful. But then what happens? You end up in the wall. And then your confidence takes a step down, and you have to build that back up. But then by that point, Max has already won 2-3 races, and you're that far behind him. So that kind of segues us into the elephant in the room is what is Red Bull doing? And what we've seen is they're going to swap Lawson and Yuki. And
Is that official?
I don't know that. I think there's
I
a
haven't
lot
seen
of
it on F1.com.
wrong rumors, but I don't know that it's.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's
Yeah.
official. Yeah, we'll see, I
But-
guess.
What I will say is, okay, there's last year, 2 years ago, I forget what. There's an interview /ish meme that is aging really poorly for Christian Horner, where he yells at Toto and he says,
What?
"Change your fucking car." Pardon my French. Right? Like when Lewis didn't have the car and he's like, "Change your fucking car." All of
No,
these
we changed the
these
car, and you need to change the car.
these second seats at Red Bull, I mean, we're just not doing the elephant in the room. Like the car is not carring for these second seaters.
I feel like Yuki could take that car, and I feel like he could play. I
That's
think he could.
hot.
I
That's
think
a
he could.
hot take.
I feel like he could hang. He has
I
a similar
think-
temperament as Max. He's a little bit like not watered down, but I think he's got kind of the pot on the lid a little bit, and he's got a little bit more of the personality game because he hung out with Danny for so long. And so now he knows how this works. He knows how he's supposed to play the game a little bit, and he knows like how to have a little fun with everything. Where Max is all business, and Liam was like, well, now I'm the shit, and I play the guitar, and now I'm about to play guitar all over this grid, all right? And then he just shits the bed. We got to check his skid plate next time.
It's too much guitar, more driving.
Too much guitar.
I think that you'll be great at this game we have coming up, Tim. I have a question about that. I also heard this is complete gossip. This is the internet
to
telling
us.
me
Podcast.
that Max is not happy if Yuki gets that swap over Lawson.
Pourquoi?
Why do you think?
Because he's going to drive the shit out of it.
Because it's going to be, I mean, look at what happened with Danny Ricciardo and him. You know, they were too competitive. And this is a hot take, but I would see the only reason Christian wouldn't is if Max's dad and Max say, no, I don't want Yuki to race against Max. I don't know if Max...
We'll go to Aston.
I don't know if Max would really lose a position to Yuki, but I do think that there would be a lot more tension and team orders that could end up hurting both cars.
I don't think Yuki would have any question about who he would be at Red Bull. I mean,
no,
they have
but I think
clear number one.
Have a chip on his shoulder enough to kind of like try to change that narrative.
It could make the team
that would
better.
be fun. And for Japan, it's Honda. Honda's going to be there, and they're like, if they're making that engine, they're going to say like, hey, if you want to do it here, here's a little extra cheddar or whatever that they want for that weekend and for the rest of the season. Now, whether or not Yuki stays in that seat or not is another question. Whether Max stays at Red Bull, if the car continues to perform like this, he's bouncing to Aston, I think, ASAP.
Oh,
potentially.
For sure.
And were we all texting about this? Max going to Aston versus Mercedes, or maybe I can't remember.
All right, before we get into some of our favorite radios, let's go through where we're standing with the teams and the drivers after two crazy weekends. Starting with the constructors, the team world championship, it's McLaren with 78 points, followed by Mercedes with 57, Red Bull Racing with 36, Williams with 17, Ferrari 17, Haas 14, Aston 10, Kick-Sauber 6, Racing Bulls 3, and Alpine with 0. I also want to call out, we had a couple comments on our socials, TikTok, where we were talking about our predictions, and I said, I think Haas has a chance. I totally came back and I was like, oh, absolutely not after last weekend. But they're ahead of Aston and VCarb. So
they are. Can we also really quickly just talk about Haas's performance in this? Because in the China GP specifically, because in the highlights I did see, and all of it was Haas heavy content, because not only double points, which is huge, but Ollie Behrman with the impetus for our game, Ciao, later that we'll play, but also like Esteban driving really well, taking some crazy risks and like riding fully in the grass. But Ollie's little like underbraking move that he pulled on every takeover, it was just like kind of adorable. It was like I could picture his little like 10-year-old face, and then like, ciao, all right, here we are again. Oh, I'm gonna do it again, and then he just fucks all the way off.
I feel like the drivers are there, and I feel like this is the first time that we are. I mean, they're scoring more points than they have in the past century, in the past 2 weekends, and they haven't even had spectacular races. But I'm excited for the rest of this season, particularly because Albon was leading this race for a little bit, and he's been driving insane. For some reason, his car stays together better than Carlos's. But and Haas too. It's super exciting. Kick-Sauber, kicking rocks. They're still scoring points. So I'm excited for the rest of the season, and just cool that Laura Mueller's getting a little bit of extra airtime with Esteban.
First female engineer to score points in F1 history. Let's go.
I got a
one thing
Lego
I'll say
for her specifically.
And
a whole Lego set.
And Kelley, tell the people what the driver is. Well, I guess we can't identify.
What do you mean?
I think it's very interesting that the driver of the Lego set has makeup on.
Yeah. I mean, she's female.
I don't want to. Yeah, I guess I shouldn't.
Can you?
Identify without her consent, but
you don't need
really,
to gender the Lego without.
This is Laura to me.
I love it.
Yeah.
Heart. She sits on my desk, and I'm inspired by her every day. So
shit, it's great.
Feeling low? Laura's got you. She'll just say push, push.
Push, push. I'm going to run through the drivers real quick, and then we can get on to our box segment. So World Championship for drivers, leading is Lando Norris with 44 points. For Max Verstappen in second place with 36, followed by George Russell, 35, Oscar Piastri, 34. Kimi Antonelli, top 5, a rookie with Mercedes with 22 points, followed by Alex Albon, 16 points. Ocon with 10 points. Stroll, 10 points, which is also ironic that he's leading Hamilton right now with 9 points. Leclerc, 8 points. Hülkenberg with 6 points. Behrman with 4. Yuki, 3. Sainz, 1. And then the rest of the gang, Hajar, Gasly, Lawson, Dohan,
How you doing?
Bortoleto with 0 points. It's very early, as we said before. 3 different drivers have won 3 different races in 2 weekends, so we're just starting here. But you're seeing some interesting points add up.
Stroll, even in contention for anything with points, is crazy this season. What if Lance Stroll can hang?
I don't know.
I mean,
Makes me want to throw up in my mouth a little bit, but I'm like, that car looks so hot. It's not bad seeing it in one piece at the end of the race. And Alonso had the DNF too, which is a bummer. Just leaving us with that. Yeah. We can go play our game now. This is just food for thought to give you nightmares.
Kelley, there was a lot that happened on the track, and even more that happened over the radio. Do you have a few call outs for us from the radios?
Yes. The radios is really where I love to understand drivers' mindsets. One of my favorites from this weekend was Alex Albon's. Oh my gosh, it might be my morning affirmation, where he's like, God, what did he say? Let me make it bigger because my old eyes can't handle it. But he said, I'm good. I'm better than everyone. Let's relax. I'm very comfortable. I'm obsessed.
It's wonderful.
Should we get tattoos? Is that the tattoo we're going to get this year together?
I'm better than everyone.
Potentially.
Sure.
I mean, if you say that to yourself 5 times in the mirror in the morning, what do you think your day looks like by the end of the day?
Better than everybody else's.
You're either very happy with yourself or you're severely disappointed and depressed. So I hope it's the
Jake,
first.
Can you change the show notes, the description of our show on Spotify to that? We're better, we're good, we're better than everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
We're all good. I think my favorite was Yuki's radio. He said, I want to use more front, referring to the tires. And the engineer said, we don't want you to do that. And his response was, well, I want to.
Another great reason why you'd crush it, Red Bull.
Okay.
But also the team is like, okay, Yuki, do what you need to do. Hilarious.
Yeah.
We love that.
Love that.
It does show his feistiness. He's had some feisty moments in the past where they've been a little out of bounds, perhaps.
In his first season, yeah.
But this shows his feistiness is more like, I want to get more out of the car, or I see something while I'm in here, and it just breathes confidence and just that little bit of sass. And maybe to your point, that is what would get him to a Red Bull seat and figure out how to drive that car. I don't know.
I think a Red Bull this is going to be a hot take, and all the Red Bull fans are not going to like what I'm about to say. But from my perspective of it, I think Red Bull has been such a dominant force that when you get in a Red Bull seat, whether that's a true RB car or a Visa Cash App Racing Bulls younger team, there comes a cockiness that you sometimes see with these drivers. That goes for really any team. An F1 driver, they're hella rich, and some of them are assholes, I'm sure, because they have a lot of money. But you kind of see that in Red Bull, and Max is one of those people that if you can talk the talk and walk the walk, great. But if you can't, like Liam, which I don't even want to say it's all Liam's fault, but like he was kind of talking the talk, and his results, whether it's a great car or not, like you're really hurting yourself here. So I think Yuki showing a level of professionalism, but also confidence with a little bit of sass and arrogance is kind of that balance that you're like, you can put him in an RBC. Here we go. You know,
I want it.
I hope we don't lose some listeners for saying that, but
I don't think that's I think that's like a mildly warm take.
Okay.
Lukewarm.
Totally in
some
bounds.
might say. Yeah.
I'll say something more out of pocket next time.
I know, right? Tim is
Leave
like,
it to
is
me.
it on Monday?
Mildly warm.
I know. Okay, let's talk about, honestly, almost the rest of them are exclusively Ferrari because these boys are just doing the most and it's the best. Leclerc, again. His engineer comes on the radio. In like a nothing specifically happening. We're losing some time in turn 2. Maybe try one lap without using the curb. Leclerc says, nope. Like, not even hesitating. He says, nope.
So good.
Obsessed. It's like, I know they work with, I mean, he's worked with his engineer longer than Hamilton, but, and I also know they're quick and, you know, they're in the moment, in the heat of the moment, but their interactions have been hilarious. And it's like they've never
rough all around
together a day in their life. They're almost not even on the same team.
I don't think that they're hilarious to them or like the team because this is like goes back to why I think Haas is doing well. This is why I think, I mean, Sainz, I guess, is debatable, but a lot of it's the car. Why Williams is doing well. And honestly, I think this is why McLaren is doing well. You have now, I don't know if that's going to last all season, but at least right now, you see a unified team. I don't know what happens behind closed doors, but their media is facing that they are a solid team. All of those teams that I listed. The drivers have each other's backs. The engineers have their backs. The principals are sticking up for the drivers, at least in interviews. Like I said, we don't really know what's happening behind closed doors. This could be for show, but I think it is a good signal to fans and, you know, other teams that if internally we're good, we're good. You see Ferrari and you see Red Bull just from a public radio being sassy and fighting with each other, and it's not a good look. And
it's an opening.
You know, it's just a weak point, I think.
I mean, I don't disagree. They're clearly working through it. Both Hamilton and Leclerc. Well, Hamilton asked for feedback. I guess it was dead on the line. He's like, hey, any feedback? And then his engineer gave him feedback. And he's like, no, not that feedback. I don't want that feedback. And then Leclerc got some feedback. And he's like, yes, I know. You've told me 10 or 15 times. I know. There's just like their wires are crossed. There's something in the comms that like isn't calming for them.
For sure.
We're calming too much.
Sure.
Well, what is funny is that last race, Lewis was like, stop talking to me. Leave me to it. Leave me to it. It's too much information. Can't do it. This, obviously they pick and choose the radios. I'm not fancy with the F1 full coverage. I don't have all of their radios, but in this race, Lewis's radio was like, hey guys, any feedback? I need any feedback. So it's just like opposite ends of the spectrum, which is also, I mean, for me, live for it. I'm living for it. Would love Ferrari to put some points on the board, let's be honest, but I'm living for the internal struggle at the moment. Best for last, do you think?
I think best for last, yeah.
Ollie Behrman.
Oh.
This kid overtaking love everything about it. He's overtaking like relatively low on the grid. So, in the teens, we're overtaking, which a win's a win's a win a win. He did not have a great first race, last race. So a win's a win. He overtakes, and he comes on the radio and says, "Ciao."
Ciao. And then he felt
Twice.
bad for it later.
I did see that. I mean, it was nice to see in the interview after, first of all of the announcers say hi to him, and they at the same time say ciao. It's like 3 of them saying it at the same time before the interview starts. But Oak kind of like hypes him up, which is fun to see. Again, Oakhorn, I don't know, we don't hear a ton from him normally, so it was cute to see him like kind of hype up Bierman.
Yeah.
Little baby brother.
Yeah.
And Ciao is classic.
It's
That's
just
classic.
it's so good.
He's gonna
Yeah.
have merch with Ciao on it for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I just
Simply
wish he was still in
Lovely,
his Ferrari when he said it, because the merch would be so much better. Because who really wants to walk around with a Haas shirt on?
It is not totally on brand for Haas, but it's okay.
Haas will just change
love
it to
This is
later.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh,
Yeah.
Kelley, was
that's Box Banter.
that's box banter. I think it was great. I
I like it.
think we should go into who you thought the main character of the race was.
I don't think it was Kimi Antonelli, even though he won driver of the week. He and Toto were both surprised.
I think we all were, but do you see that radio comm was great where Toto was like, I think it's your looks.
I think it's your looks. And of course the looks of your engineer.
Yeah. So good. So good. So good.
I mean, it's not beyond Oscar. I think Lando's brakes ended up being, by the end, the main character. It was like every lap or so, we were worried about his brake pedal. What's going to happen if he can't brake? So by the end, the brakes end up being, for me, the main character. I was like, this is drama right now. What will the brakes do?
I don't know if that was the main character for me for the whole race. I would think that was the deciding factor of why Lando should have been driver of the day. Not because I love him. Yeah, either that or Piastri. But I was very impressed with Lando's start. After the sprint race, I was like, he's not going to be in the points, or he'll be like, P9 or 10. Like he's struggling this weekend. And his start was great. Like he moved up to second place real quick over George. I thought he drove really well, especially with the brake issue at the end. And I was worried about the brakes and him losing that position. So the fact that he did that earned some points in my book. Not that he needed any. But I think the main character of the race for me was probably Leclerc's front wing. Or should I say his lack thereof. This meme of it's my favorite meme I saw all week is George in the T pose missing one of his hands.
It's so good. And all we heard was, and even Max on the radio was like, he's missing a front wing. Like, it's so good. And it was just a whole, well, I guess, and even that, maybe Leclerc would have been my driver of the day for similar reasons as Lando, of like, if you can manage a car for that long with that big of a mechanical problem, like, you really earn a lot of points in my book. Tim, what about you?
A name I never thought I'd say for this is Esteban Ocon. I think that he drove really well. I think he fought hard, and I watched a lot of Haas highlights, obviously, because that's all we can talk about. No, I don't think it's actually Esteban. Honestly,
I thought you were going to say George.
No, well, because nobody talks about George, even though he's gotten third place 3 weeks in a row. F1 TV doesn't talk about George.
Toto
Okay.
doesn't talk about George. Sky.
I think we
ESPN
talk
doesn't
about George more than
George. I think the only person that said George at all this weekend was my friend Hunter when he was committing to his bid at the conference dressed up like Toto. It was, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous because George fought hard this race, but still couldn't beat the McLarens, even with taking position over Lando out of they successfully undercut McLaren and he still couldn't hold on with Lando with the bum leg. Like, yeah, so not George.
Yeah.
I like Oscar. I thought his start was great. I mean, because his start off the block was not great, the way that he was able to recover was really great. I think I don't know. Good on you, young lads. I'll say Oscar was my driver of the week because he just elbows out, punch people in the face. It was great. Liked it. Metaphorically.
Kelley, I noticed a lovely shirt that you're wearing today. I really like it. It's really nice.
I've been waiting for you to notice.
Speaking of Oscar, do you want to tell the people what you're wearing if they're listening to us audibly?
Sans vidya.
This is McLaren shirt. It's new merch for me. I'm kind of a fair weather fan, if I'm being completely honest. I just love the drama. I love a lot of the drivers. I don't pledge allegiance to anyone specifically, but I think Oscar is becoming one of my favorite drivers. I love his humor. I love that I wouldn't say he's an underdog necessarily. He's got a great car. He has a lot of driving skills that I wouldn't be able to quantify. But I just love, they were making jokes about him being 1/16. Well, it's not a joke, but they were talking about him being 1/16 Chinese, having Chinese heritage this weekend. And it was making me laugh so hard because he was like, that's true.
It's not a joke.
It's not a joke. He's just like deadpan, hilarious, and also like just gets in the car and does his job and does it really well.
He let his ancestors drive this weekend. Really?
He was like, everyone's here for me. Thank you so much. These are my people. I love that. And so now I have McLaren merch. The only other McLaren merch I have is Danny Ricciardo. And maybe I'll fill in, it's like a 3, so I'll fill in the other side of the 3 to make
you
it
can't.
8,
You just
and then
you
do
need a
1.
new hat. No,
Okay,
you
I'll
gotta.
do a new hat. Yeah.
A Danny Rick McLaren hat is gold. I wish I had that.
Well, maybe I'll gift it to
Maybe
you.
one day.
Yeah, Oscar is my driver of the day. I thought he did great. And
The only driver
Yeah.
with 2 races with home field advantage.
Mhm.
that's right.
That's very true. That's very
That's
true.
right.
All of this McLaren talk is making me a little thirsty, y'all.
That
Yeah.
makes sense.
Get
Are
out
you
of
guys
town to chug
thirsty?
some lemonade.
Are you
Yeah.
thirsty?
Chug it.
Oh.
There it is.
Lemonade. So hydration station. It's just one single picture we'll put on the screen right now.
This is quite
last
the
week
picture.
I said that I had not watched Drive to Survive yet. I binged the first 3
Oh.
episodes last night, so I have a little bit more to go. But this week's
makes
hydration
sense.
station is Carlos Sainz, Daddy Sainz. We're talking about his appendicitis. Baby, you can get appendicitis any day of the week with this. I don't want to
Baby.
say the word, but the hair below his belt line was on Netflix was not a part of my bingo card. That
It
was the
was
free
pretty
space,
low.
baby.
Even
They were
Kelley is
taping him up, and I said, and even this photo that you see is like a little like, if you didn't know the context, this is a little.
It looks like some risky business happening. For sure. When I opened our show notes, I was like, Jacob, Andrew, Susan, Rura. What is going on?
Sainz, Norris,
Sainz, Norris.
Leclerc.
Oh,
So that is my hydration station for the week. If you haven't watched Drive to Survive, we have a mix of emotions on our socials saying to watch it, to not to watch it. So I implore you to make your own decision and then let us know what you think. But I think instead of going on about how thirsty I am, I think we should play a little game. Y'all want to play a game?
Yeah.
I'd love to play a game.
I made this game after our lovely Ollie Behrman gave us such a lovely radio comm of Ciao. So we're going to play Ciao or Now. So the way this works is I'm going to say a statement, and you can either say Ciao, like bye, disagree with it, like nope, or you can say now, which is you agree, like I want this now. I'm going to agree with it. So
Clear.
Ciao or Now. All right, y'all ready for the first question? Okay,
Ready.
So these are kind of like statements too. So it's you kind of yes or no or agree, disagree.
Okay.
Oscar Piastri is now McLaren's top driver for the season.
Now, I think,
cool.
I think that it is because he's a less emotional driver. I think, or he's channeling his emotions in a different way. I feel like Lando can let things get to him a little bit, at least like going off of last season. I think Oscar is a killing machine. I think he is the Terminator, the Australian Terminator, and has his sights set on seat number 1.
It's a now for
Love
me. It's offensive to you. We get it. Sorry.
It's
Jake.
now
just because I
now for
disagree,
now.
it doesn't mean I'm offended. Listen, I'm listening and I'm not judging.
This is the last episode of the podcast, so
Just-
I hope everybody's
clenching
enjoyed.
We're breaking up.
I'm clenching my butt cheeks a little bit, but I'm not disagreeing with you publicly. All right, number 2, Red Bull Racing should swap Sonoda for Lawson for
Now.
Japan.
Now/yesterday.
It's an L for me. Yeah.
Agreed. All right, that goes into our next one. Yuki, if given the position, will score higher than Max Verstappen in the next race.
Ciao. Full ciao.
Ciao. I think that's a ciao. I think if he does move to Red Bull, he will beat Max in a race eventually this season. If he moves there in Japan, I think that Yuki could outscore Max in a race this season.
Cool. Lewis Hamilton's disqualification was justified from the Chinese GP.
Emotionally, ciao. Get the fuck out. Take your
This is a-
skid marks.
this is-
Take your skid
this
marks
is-
and get the fuck out of here. Go change your pants.
This is
Give Lewis
this
his
is a
points.
smooth incident. Kelley?
Yeah, emotionally ciao, but like now everyone is managing the same. Unfortunately.
Are y'all ready for the last one?
Yes.
Ferrari's championship bid is not going to happen for 2025.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Yeah.
I think it's a
Second
little
race.
too early.
Second
It's
race.
early. That's why it was a tentative ciao. It was just kind of like a ciao.
Well, if you look at last season, we had Red Bull looking like the dominant team the first 2 weekends, and
True.
look where they ended. You know, Max still won the championship, but McLaren really pulled away towards the end. So I really am hesitant. Obviously, as a huge McLaren fan, love Lando, love Oscar, love the team. But I don't like this hype that they're getting. It makes me so nervous. It just puts them on a pedestal for them to be kicked off, you know?
Yeah.
And it's, as a fan, yeah, I'm enjoying it for a little bit. But like Zach Brown said, every dynasty comes to an end.
Oh, we're
So.
quoting Zach now.
That
He's
will
the
be the only time I
standard.
do.
You can't not with how
Okay.
often he's on TV. He's
Okay.
Literally. Literally so annoying. Ugh, that was the one part of McLaren that I'm like, but you know.
Hey, Zach.
Well, thanks for
Cut to
playing my
Zach.
little shower now. Yeah, let's bring him on.
I loved that.
And now
Great.
for
He
a
would
special guest to
probably-
take us out of the episode, Zach, come on in.
He'd probably be
Oh,
available.
come on
Let's
down.
His availability is very strong.
I think we should try. I think we should try to go. I don't know. We might be here way too long. Anyway, that's all I had for you guys today.
Yeah,
Did you want to bring up any other topics before we
I'd love
tell
a
the
quick
people what to
update from
expect
you,
next time?
Jake. If you can, really quick, pull up our fantasy standings
Oh,
just to get a
yes,
quick
good
report
call,
because
good call. So we had
my team name is living
wonder-
up to it. Barely.
Tim tried. Listen, you're not in the negative anymore, Tim.
I'm not. I'm glad to be in the black here. This is good.
Kelley, I don't have access to see your teams. I just see your points, which I don't know what you had last week, but you're at 215 now. So you did
I had
pretty well.
7. So I had a banger of a week. Oscar was one of my drivers, and he was double pointed, whatever that means. Again, still learning what is happening. So I did get some solid points from Oscar.
You did. I mean, you got a lot. You were in what, single digits last week?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 215, and now the gap is so small between you and I, with 253. DRS Siana Grande leading the pack. But I think that's because Lando was my double point driver. I lost a lot of points this week because of Ferrari.
And I gained points even though I did not update my picks. So I'll take it.
I love it.
That. Tim,
Yeah.
Good job, Tim.
Tim tried.
Yeah.
He continues
You
to
tried.
try.
And
He
you know who else
continues.
tried? Is Ferrari. And they continue to try as well. I love you so much. I love you so much. With that being said, if you would like to sponsor us, have your brand mentioned in our podcast, we'll put your banner up, your logo up. Please email us. You can find us on all the socials, listen to us on all the podcast platforms. We are on YouTube as well. We have a few people that have requested subtitles, so I've made sure that those are available as soon as we post on YouTube. I don't know if there's a way to do that on Spotify. If you do know, send us an email or comment as well. Love to make this as accessible to all of our listeners. But with that, I think that we're off to a really great start to the season. We're seeing a lot of drama already happening. Our next race is not next weekend, but it's the following weekend in Japan. So stay tuned for all the fun games and things that we're going to be doing in between. If you haven't followed us, liked, comment, do all the things. Not going to sound like a broken record, even though I am. But we will see you next time. For now, I'm Jake. We have Kelley and Tim. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Hasta la pasta.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.